Hey guys, Travis here. So we got our pegs on. Now we're gonna actually do the street legal kit. What that entails is changing out your whole wiring harness, your original wiring harness, with the new one for all the plugs, for blinkers, everything, all the accessories. So you're gonna have to tear down the bike to a point to get to where you can remove the old wiring harness, put on the new one, and then go from there. So we got the seat, the battery out. So I think our next step, we're gonna have to take off the front fender, front number plate and light assembly to get to the harnesses for the blinkers and accessories that are behind here. Okay, now that we've got the front fender off, this front fender and headlight loose, we now need to start disassembling the internal parts of it, the display and all that, so we can get back into the connectors. Okay, so now we got those two separated. Now you can see you have access to all the original wiring harnesses. Okay, now that we got access to this, just need to go in and start snipping all the zip ties so you can get the old wiring harness taken apart. Make sure not to snip the wires. We will be replacing this. The new one comes with the turn signal button on it. So the tools you will need are 3 mil to get the grip off, a 2.5 to get this assembly off, and then the Phillips to take off the brake sensor. All right guys, now we're gonna remove the cover that has a little 12-volt charger on it. That requires 3 bolts. This one here, and lift the battery cover. You're gonna have to take off these 2 bolts as well, and this cotter and this pin. Okay, now next we have to remove the stock fuse box. Simple, 5 mil bolt right there. Next step, remove the controller. All you need is 5 mil, 6 bolts. Okay guys, next we got to take off the wiring, this wiring harness, at least get it loose. That takes these 2 5 mil and a 3 mil. Okay, now we're going to remove this plate to get access to more of the wiring. we got the plate taken off the inside. Now we just need to disconnect all these harnesses. Now we need to disconnect the battery connector from its wiring harness here. Okay, now we're just going to try and pull all the wiring down, back down through here, this slot here. Now we have access to all the rest of the connections. Okay, I think our next step is probably, for ease of work, we might want to take the skid plate off, and then we can have access to the rest of the wiring harness. All right, now that we have the skid plate off, we have more access to the rest of the wiring harness and connectors in here. So just need to cut this zip tie. Pull this down, undo these 3 connectors here. Okay, just like that. We've got the stock wiring harness out. Now we're ready to start putting the new one in. We're going to start putting the hardware together. So the first step is going to be these 2 nuts right here. They fit down in these 2 slots so they don't spin. And that is to connect this piece to this piece. But first, we're going to do the reflector, which drops into through this hole here. So then on the back side, you've got this 10mm lock nut that you're going to put on there. Tighten that down. Okay, next is your tail light. Pretty straightforward. Drop your cable through the hole there. Line those 2 up. Backside there, you've got 2 10mm lock nuts on this. Tail light is installed. Then we've got a little rubber bumper for your license plate. You just got to shimmy it down into this hole here. Next is obviously your blinkers, left and right. Take this 12mm nut off and washer. Run your wiring through the hole. That through, you have a little alignment pin that drops right into the hole on the bracket. Then you're going to take your washer and 12mm nut, run it back down the wire. Okay, now that we've got our tail lights and blinkers on there, we're going to put this little plastic cover piece on here. It just kind of snaps into place, and then it's got these 2 little screws that go in right here with a Phillips. We've got our plastic cover installed. Now we need to feed the wires up through the metal bracket. And they should just slide right up through there. Okay, so we got our wires pulled through the metal bracket. Keep those pulled out tight so they don't slide back in, and then you're going to line this up with that screw hole there. And there's a little 5mm screw. It has the little lip on it there. Fits right in there. So we got the top done. That's attached there. Now there's those 2 nuts we put in earlier that go behind the reflector. That's these 5mm right here. finished rear light. And then here's the wiring harness for the tail light and blinkers. It's all color coordinated, so it should be pretty straightforward. So more hardware. Front license plate, headlight. We're going to attach the right and left blinkers. Pretty much similar as the rear. You're going to pull the 12 mil nut off of there and washer. And then it has this little gray plug that just pops right out. Run the wire through there. And then it has the same aligning pin as the rear, so you line that up. Put your washer, 12 mil nut on there. Okay, now we're going to jump into the new wiring harness. I think the first step we're going to do is take the front end assembly, so you got your headlight, blinkers, and all that up here. You're going to run that between the fork and the frame right there. And then just like we took off, you're going to reattach it to these 2 points. So now we got the new switches with the blinker, everything else is the same, but now we need to install that. Installs just the same as the old one. Goes all the way on there. Make sure that your brake lines up with the slot, just like the other one. Tighten it with the 2.5 mil. Okay, so we've got our old one here. The reason why we've got it is the newer version of the bikes come with the brake sensor already attached. So what you have to do is you have to pull these 2 wires off to reuse this sensor. We'll attach it right here to the wires on the new control switches by clicking them on. Make sure they seat all the way. Then we put it on here just like we took it off. So now that we've got this run up through here, we put the new brake sensor on there, ran all these wires over the top. Now we start connecting them. So you're just going to find the female and male that connect to each one of them. So what we got left now is the headlight, blinkers, the display, and ignition. Just connect them, all color coded, can't miss them up. And there you go. Okay, so now that we're done with the front end, we're going to start with the main harness, and we're going to start with the fuse box first. So you're going to pull it up through the frame and over and line it up with the hole that it fits in there. 5 mil bolt again to put that back on. So next is your 2 horn wires. Pretty simple. It doesn't matter which way they go. Push it down through where the hole where the horn is. Now that you've come down through here, turn them up into the connections for the horn. Okay, so now we've got our lower connections on our wiring harness. It's coming down our way. Anyways, again, you just line them up. Line them up. They only go in one into one, so it's pretty straightforward. And then you just want to get it all back up in this rubber boot. And they already supply you with a zip tie, which is nice, but you got to fight with it for just a second. There you go. Make sure it's all covered, and then get that zip tie tightened down. Okay, next step, we're just going to put the controller back in its place and run all the wiring back up through the frame there. Okay, so now that we got to this point, the controller's in. Now you can just start connecting your wires that come off your controller to the wiring harness, the one that offshoots from the main power, and your T-box controller. Okay, so before we continue on and you put your back plate on, we've got this that comes with the new kit. It's called the flasher. It obviously controls your blinkers and your flashers. That goes on right here with a little rubber boot. You just got to kind of wiggle it on there. And then that'll be one of the new connectors that comes with the harness. Okay, now that we've got the flasher on the back plate, all we need to do is connect all of the rest of our connections on the back of the back plate. Now that we've got everything connected to the back plate, we're just going to shove all our connections back up into this hollow space in the steer tube and then connect the back plate back to the bike. Okay, now we're ready to connect our USB charging port, and as a reminder, the horn wires are black, both black. The one for the USB are black and blue, and they are color coordinated per connection. Okay, so we're done with the front end. So now we're gonna start with the back end. First step is to remove these 4 5mm bolts that will, the whole rear assembly will attach to. This piece that comes off the bottom will not be reused. So in order to route the wiring from the rear, from the tail light and blinkers and all that, you have to run it through and down the side, which means removing this side piece, which is 2 pop rivets here, and then 2 3mm bolts right here. Now that we've loosened that, this feeds up through this hole on that plate that we took off before. Pull everything up through there. And then we'll attach this, the actual back piece to it, and then we'll finish running the wiring. Okay, so now that we've got the wiring ran through, we just want to attach these front 2 bolts to leave the rear fender loose so we can have the ability to run that wire through. The wire that controls all of the lighting accessories to the rear comes off the main wiring harness up here. So you need to run it up through here, and then you're going to take this plastic piece off here, run it behind there and down the frame, and then it will connect with the wire coming from the rear. Okay, so now that we've got the wire ran through here, the plastic piece back on, it runs down, and there's a little slot. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a little slot right there for the wire to go through. And then this is our rear wire after we put it down through here, and it'll connect right there, and then you can zip tie it right there in place. Okay, so now that we've got that wire all connected and ran and zip tied there, now we can reattach this side piece and finish connecting the whole back section, tail section. Okay guys, we put the front fender back on, skid plate back on, everything's connected. We're gonna throw the battery in, put the seat on, pray that it works. Put together, battery's in, we're gonna turn it on, cross our fingers. We got a headlight, we got power, dash lights up properly. Let's try our blinkers. We got a right blinker. We got a left blinker. Love it. Now we got, let's see, we got hazards. Hazards are working. I think we have ourselves a full-blown street legal kit. Oh, I got ahead of myself. Brake light. We got ourselves a street legal kit here. For sale, Charge Cycle Works. Have any questions, comments? Leave them below.